Black women are not healing, they're medicating. They're projecting. They're channeling, but they're not healing.
You finna make
All
them
right.
mad. Preach,
Don't
Pastor.
black wait,
Look at
hold on.
look at the face.
Don't black people, black men and women in
I
general account
agree.
for
I
the
don't think either one
lowest
of
amount of
them.
people in therapy? Isn't that the stat? So it's like where is this healing coming from?
Wait, you said
Where is
what
it coming
about
from?
therapy?
It's black people account for the lowest um amount of people in therapy, like actively seeking therapy, but some of the highest black female professionals are the highest in new prescriptions for psychotropic medication. Yeah, so it's like, no, you're not healing, they're medicating. They're finding ways to maybe cope with the day to day, but these deep seated traumas that you talked about that they have from their childhood, they're not seeking ways to get over them. And all we got to do is go on YouTube, go on Instagram, go on anything talking about black men, and y'all are slicing and dicing us all over the place. Doesn't sound like y'all healed to me.
Have y'all seen women say that men are too feminine today?
Oh
In
yeah,
general.
Yes, I've seen
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Okay,
I thought
and
you meant
have
on
you?
this panel right now.
And I was saying that, but I had to generalize it so we didn't make it specific. Okay.
Okay,
I wasn't
fair
talking
enough.
about y'all. I was
Okay.
talking in general. I thought you meant in general.
And
Like
I was meaning that, but since
There are soft
you know,
men out here, just like there's masculine women.
okay, so we all agree that we've heard that this is a common complaint from women.
Right.
The question is, how do you think we got here? How do you think men became soft or feminine?
Well,
Because
I was going to say
No, go ahead,
before
Sam.
that, because I see y'all transitioning into this conversation, but I just wanted to make the point or ask, when you were talking about scars and men, women, it doesn't matter if men have scars. I think part of that is part of the problem is that when men go through things, they don't necessarily heal from those things. They bring it into a relationship and those scars, and then inflict those scars on the women that they deal with. Then that relationship don't work. That woman has inherited those scars that have been inflicted, and now it just becomes a cycle because neither one are healing from that. And then the other question I had is, a woman who, or a man, who has healed or worked towards healing those scars. I'm gonna speak specifically for a woman since you said this, Cheeky. I wanted to know, do you think that a woman healing from scars, is her resilience being confused with hard or masculine behavior? Because I think a lot of times when you learn from something, you learn to set boundaries. You learn, to not deal with certain things because you've already been through the experience and know the outcome. So when you move forward, hopefully what you do is begin to set those boundaries so you can minimize those same mistakes again. Do you think men misread those boundaries as being masculine energy as opposed to them, looking at it as a level of resilience?
No, I think the behavior is what tends to make a man think masculine or feminine, not necessarily the resiliency or the character built through said trauma, right? So, for example, if a woman has gone through something, but she's still soft-spoken, still kind, still have a servant's heart, that woman, in most cases, we would assume, hey, she may not have been through anything because she still is still displaying these feminine characteristics or behavior. But the women that are really hard, we're like, okay, you don't get hard for no reason. The reason I know that is because I didn't get hard for no reason. Oh, that sounds weird. I didn't get strong and fortified through no trauma or through no painful situation. You know what I'm saying? So it really depends on the behavior and the characteristics, because those are the things that we can honestly see. The rest, like the character and stuff, you have to get to know and understand the person in order to know who they are and what that means. But as far as a display, if a woman is soft and is like, hey, how you doing, and all that cute stuff, I'm like, hey, why she must have been through nothing. And then when I hear a story, oh no, you're actually resilient, but your behavior didn't change through learning through that said trauma. And what I've noticed is most of the time when women go through that trauma, their behavior does change because it's a defense mechanism. So it doesn't they don't encounter the same issues over and over again.
So I wanted to say something about that that part where I think Lady T said something about healing. Now, you're absolutely correct. There are people that heal and get through this, but in this community specifically, women, women are not healing. Let's stop the cap. Women are not healing. What they're actually healing is real, so I don't want to discredit that. And there are women that do. But Black women are not healing, they're medicating. They're projecting. They're channeling, but they're not healing.
You finna make
All
them
right.
mad. Preach, Pastor.
Look at
the face.
Don't Black people, Black men and women in general,
I
account
agree.
for
I
the
don't think either one.
lowest amount of people in therapy? Isn't that the stat? So it's like, where is this healing coming from?
Wait, you said
Where is
what
it coming
about
from?
therapy?
It's Black people account for the lowest amount of people in therapy, like actively seeking therapy, but some of the highest Black female professionals are the highest in new prescriptions for psychotropic medication. Yeah, so it's like, no, you're not healing. They're medicating. They're finding ways to maybe cope with the day to day. But these deep-seated traumas that you talked about, that they have from their childhood, they're not seeking ways to get over them. And all we got to do is go on YouTube, go on Instagram, go on anything talking about Black men, and y'all are slicing and dicing us all over the place. Doesn't sound like y'all healed to me.
Well, I agree, but I
Trigger,
think
if you say
that's
something
part
like
of the issue too, and that's why I was saying in terms of the resilience
Look at her.
and setting boundaries, is that I think a lot of times, and we get it from both sides, but I'm gonna just specifically speak to what you just said. I think a lot of times when women, especially in this space, and when Black women call out the toxic behavior or scarred behavior, whatever you want to call it, of Black men, is automatic that, see, it's something wrong with her. She got something going on. Somebody done did something wrong to her or whatever. It's always seen as a negative, and vice versa. I've seen that as well. There are a lot of behaviors between us as a group, between Black men and women, that are not productive, that are toxic. And we keep going into this cycle trying to blame the man for the reason or blame the woman for the reason, when the truth of the matter is that neither one of us are doing the work that's necessary to make a relationship or be in relationship, in a healthy, let me put a healthy relationship with each other. We spend so much time blaming one another for the condition that we're in instead of spending the time trying to fix ourselves so the conditions, the outcomes will be better.
That's real talk.
I agree with that. And I disagree that Black women aren't doing the work, because I'm around a bunch of Black women that are doing the work.
Talk about it, lady.
And I actually am one of those Black women that definitely advocates for therapy. Love, shout out to my Black therapist. And actually do like speed dating sessions between people in the community without health insurance and therapists to get people matched with therapists. So like there are people, maybe they haven't been doing the work. And to your point, I don't feel like the slicing and dicing of one another is helping anything. I think that is just trauma dumping on one another. But yeah, I mean, it's happening. And these points keep getting regurgitated and recycled and spit out. And it's just constantly perpetuating more divisiveness amongst us. But hey, what do I know? But I do feel like some of us are doing the work.
Go ahead.
And what Miss Taken said was absolutely correct. Like I really personally feel like we do play the blame game a lot. Like, oh, it's the women, it's the men. And it's like it's us as human beings. What we got going on here? Who is dealing with their scars and their trauma properly? Because I know you guys are talking about women who are scarred and all that, but it's like we got men who are scarred too, don't even know how to handle their emotions properly. They're fucking punching holes in the goddamn wall. You know what I mean? What is that? Like, you know what I
So-
mean? Like, if you
so
you don't know
Curves-
how to properly go ahead.
keep this
Q,
focus
'cause
on
you
So,
wanna
Curves,
let
this
off the
is-
trigger, been ready to pull the trigger. So go
it's
ahead.
not that it's back to the question I was asking. You're
Go.
saying punching holes in the wall and doing all of those things. That's, to me, that's feminine, right? Because
Right.
if a man, that's what I mean by women have seen this issue of feminine men, but when you look at the problem, it's because there is no man, right? He's learning these things, or he's not learning how to control his anger or his management because there's no father. And what I'm saying to you guys is, if a strong if he had a father to help him through those quote unquote scars,
Where's the
he
father?
wouldn't
Where's
you
the
asking-
father?
I don't got no kids. You asking wrong man. I can't
Like,
tell you.
what
I'm not
you
Houdini.
asking us for?
I mean, 'cause we
My
can keep
kids
going with
in
my
the
dad,
other
my
room.
dad was in my life. I don't know what to tell you.
My daddy was there too. What you talking
Sorry, I'm not the typical guy. I'm
No, you're
fortified.
funny.
Anyway, all I'm saying is, this is what I was trying to hint at. Women have been making these complaints about feminine men, and when I ask the question, why do you think that exists? It's because most men are going through things, but they don't have the tools from a man who's been through those things to handle them healthily. What they do have is a mother who's probably scarred as well, trying to teach him unhealthily how to handle that. So it's you're asking men with no guidance and only a mother handling trauma how I think women would handle trauma. Unhealthy women. Let me clarify, because don't get on my head. Just
Go ahead, Trigger.
No.
Let off.
Oh,
You,
I
you
was just gonna ask this because y'all had this question. You had said this earlier about women not healing, or they're medicating, and then Cheeky, you just brought up the point of men not knowing how to do the work. And I think Trigger Mike brought up the point, at some point you get to an age where you become responsible for you, right? So for men, why aren't they going to therapy to do that work, to learn those tools? Because Cheeky just said that men don't have those tools, and they're trying to learn from, they see it, if they're in a single household, from their mom. At what point do you get to the age to become responsible, to learn to develop those tools and go to therapy, even if you have to seek a male therapist, because you said you want to learn those tools from a man? Then
So-
why not go to
I got
therapy
that.
to get those tools, or learn those tools, so you can be better in terms of development, and get yourself together as well?
Because they
All
leave
right.
all the work to be done up to the women that they're
Talk
dating.
about
Well,
it. No
are
accountability.
you gonna let me answer, Lady T, or you just gonna?
I'm just saying.
All right. So
I'm just
so
jumping
this is I've I've been
go
nurturing
ahead, Lady
healthy-
T.
My thoughts ain't welcome here. So let's
So no,
go. Go
I was
ahead.
an administrator in a mental health hospital, so that was my first. I have a master's in health administration, and I was an administrator in a mental health hospital. So I've seen something like this from a professional. I've had professionals share this opinion with me. Naturally, men don't seek out verbal advice and seek to talk the way women do. So one of the answers to your question, Miss Taken, is that it's natural. So when you're saying men seek out help in the way you're talking about, women will always do it in exponentially greater numbers than we do. So that's the natural part of it. The
I
other
agree.
part of it is that the men you're talking about, let me just preface this real quick. The 2020 census did a lot for Black men. It did a lot for me, because what we realized is that Black women had the podium. Y'all were the ones doing all the speaking on behalf of the Black community. If let Black women tell it, Black men had no jobs. We all had 3 or 4 baby mamas. We all couldn't support ourselves, and we had to live in our woman's house. We had to do all these things because that's what the general narrative was about Black men. Well, it turns out more than half of us under 40 have no kids. We all make enough to sustain ourselves and get our own apartment and all that type of stuff. And the narrative was completely wrong. So I say that to say this, mistaken. The men that you're talking about that need to go seek therapy and do all these things, these are the men that women are choosing to sleep with and be with that had no business qualifying for a woman in the first place. And the reason why these men will never seek out everything you're talking about, therapy, healing, a better way to behave themselves, the tact and behavior modification tools to become a man of the house, is because they don't have to. Women are going to sleep with them anyway. Women are going to find them attractive anyway. They were never a man who had those principles, those values to do right by a woman, and yet they are betting everybody. So they don't have to do anything to heal themselves, because y'all are supposed to find them unattractive. The men that are out here ready to do good to women, women don't find them attractive. The saying is 20% of the men are sleeping with all the women. The other 80% are ready to do everything you need them to do. They ready to join and bond and be in a family with you, but y'all think they whack. So that's the answer. These men are never going to do what you want them to do until you make their behavior undesirable.